What's going on, guys, and welcome back. So today, how to beat Dragon Link. They're probably the best deck of the format. It's a deck everyone's tired of. It's a deck everyone wants to get hit, but after we get the Dragunity support for one format, maybe two, then LP will see it's time to get banned. But for now, we do have to deal with the deck. If you want to know how to beat it, this video is going to be short. Over in about 10 seconds from now, come join Dragon Rider Games and play against it. You'll learn. But in all reality, guys, link down below. Come join. Lots of fun. How to beat Dragon Link. So first off, let's talk about what does the deck do. So not only is it really consistent with all of its extenders, it's incredible at pushing through your hand traps and your disruption. You pretty much need multiple, or you need like big blowout cards that we'll talk about here in a little bit. They abuse cards like Borlord Savage Dragon, Appaloosa, sometimes the Buster Lock, but I don't think that's going to be super popular. None of the LCS topping lists or lists that really did decent and came close to topping played the Buster Lock, and I think the main reason for this is the fact that Dinos and Eldlich are the next two best decks, and neither one of them care about the Buster Lock. So why make a more fragile, suboptimal play? And by suboptimal, I mean you're still making Appaloosa for 2 Savage, Dragoon, and Buster Lock. So it's not like it's a bad board. It's 4 negates, no extra deck. But the two main decks that you're going against don't care. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to see a whole lot of play. I'm hoping not, and I'm hoping that those two decks being so good help keep the Buster Lock at bay. But it is one thing that they do have at their disposal. Otherwise, they've hired Exceal that they can use very well. Again, they could go into a Morphage Goliath when they tribute it on your turn, but that's not really a common play. It's kind of cheeky, if anything, but it's an option. Otherwise, usually they'll go into like a Safe or into like a Brotar to search Leveneer to set up their follow-up play. Speaking on Leveneer, you know, they can still rip a card with it. Card's broken, but at least its effect on summon is only once per turn, although they can summon it multiple times, and thanks to Safer, they can bounce it back to their hand from the graveyard in order to summon it multiple times. Otherwise, we already mentioned Dragoon as well. Like we said, Borlord Savage Dragon. They just got a lot of really good boss monsters. I've seen the Unchained Abomination actually get played again. That's been, oh man, that wasn't really too popular to play since Shu Ping won the final UDS championship. That's when the Abomination play was popular, before Helka Fibrax even came out. So let's jump right into, what do you hand trap versus Dragon Link? Well, first off, we're going to start with like some of the main ones you can see on the screen here. But Ash, I try to Ash the Chaos Space if they have it and open it, because they have to send the card, and then they also, you know, lose the Chaos Space. So they just went -2, and Chaos Space just offers so much recursion. They'll still get the draw later in the turn if they can keep comboing, which most likely they can. The deck's so many extenders, but Chaos Space is probably the best card to Ash. Especially if they pitch like a Collapse Serpent or a black, because normally with Chaos Space, that's just free. You pitch Collapse Serpent, search Wyver Burst or banish Collapse Serpent, summon it, go into Striker, and then, or don't go into Striker yet, Chaos Space, return the Collapse Serpent, draw a card, then you go into your Striker, then you get your black, and like you already got a draw and an add, and you're on your Link too, and you still didn't normal summon yet. So card's really crazy. Otherwise, Helka Fibrax, Guard Dragon LP is probably the next best target. So them are two cards that are actually going to, you know, see play in the combo all the time. Once in a while, they might actually be able to chain block Helka Fibrax, depending on like which card they go into for it. Not too often, I suppose. But Guard Dragon LP too is also a really good target to Ash. Go Spell, Red MD, Pisty's target, probably the best 2 times that you could go spell them. You're just trying to disrupt them, especially if they're playing like the Buster Lock, because those are their 2 main ways to get DMZ Dragon back on board. So then you can go spell it to prevent, hopefully, that. Obviously, they do have the other one if they have access to it, so keep that in mind. Skullmeister, if you're still playing Skullmeister, because it's pretty graveyard reliant format once again. Chaos Space, you can stop the draw, you know, so that's one thing, keep the card banished. Safer, you can keep Leveneer from getting back to their hand, whether it's for their follow-up turn or if they're going to summon it again. White and black, like kind of the whole Chaos Engine, keeping in mind they do banish for cost, but the effects to search out. Black Metal Dragon searches Red MD, you can stop that with a Skullmeister. Otherwise, if you happen to like draw into it on your turn, when they use Hired Exceal, you can actually hit the graveyard effect then. So it's not dead if you draw into it on your turn on the bright side. Gamma, probably the best time to gamma would be like Elpy again, or, you know, Halqifibrax. Downside to like Ash, Gamma, all these cards is they can chain block so well. So Elpy's really one of the best choke points, more or less. Not only is it a really strong hit, it's like they can't chain block it nearly as often as some of the early on plays. But keep in mind, they have so many extenders. One hand trap a lot of the time isn't going to do a whole lot. But if you can gamma the Elpy, it also removes it from the field, which is really, really important. Infinite impermanence, I mean, you can hit the cards we were already talking about, you know, your Elpy, your Halqifibrax, things like that. Otherwise, you can actually save it until they summon Savage, because normally they won't have a negate on board yet when they summon Savage. So then you can impermanent, and you're guaranteed to keep one negate off board at least. They'll have the 3000 beater, but they won't have the negates from it. So, I mean, it does do something. If they don't have a negate yet, you can hit the DMZ Dragon to prevent the Buster Lock if you know they're playing it. That's another option. If your deck's going to be easier to play through the Savage negate than it is the Buster Lock, I mean, stop the Buster Lock if you can, obviously. DD Crow, Pisty's target, you know, otherwise you could hit the Chaos Space to prevent the draw and the shuffle back, Safer to prevent that. Like, it's not the greatest, but I mean, Pisty's target's the #1 thing for DD Crow. Not huge on the card for this matchup though. DROLL, LANCEA, and NIBIRU. How are these cards versus Dragon Link? So, NIBIRU versus the top few decks, this is probably the best matchup NIBIRU has, and it's still not amazing. Once in a while, it'll end their turn, like some of the time, but if they have an extender still, and they'll usually go for Seal early on in the combo, because then the NIBIRU tributes Seal, and it was tributed from the extra monster zone, so then they get like the free Safer that they can pop and then go into like search their Collapse Serpent, their Wyver Burster. Like they can search out their Chaos Blade, they can search out their extenders, they can search out the Rocket Tracer, and then use the field spell to summon it, and then pop a card, and then, you know, pop the token, get it, make board with Savage. Like, NIBIRU a lot of the time isn't going to outright stop their play. Bringing us to DROLL and Lockbird. Again, it's really strong more often than not, but they have so many extenders. You know, they have Quick Launch, they have the World Legacy Guard Dragon, they can summon from the deck off Elpy, and then summon from the grave off Red MD, off of Pisty, off of these other cards. Don't get me wrong, DROLL and Lockbird, NIBIRU can absolutely outright end their turns, but don't be surprised if they play through either one of them from time to time as well, especially the NIBIRU. Final hand trap, LANCEA. I like LANCEA versus matchup. Not only does it shuts off the whole Chaos engine, you know, the Chaos Space play, Collapse Serpent, Wyver Burster, Levineer. It actually does make a pretty noticeable impact, because, like, if they're playing 2 Levineer, that's 2 Levineer, black, white, and 3 Chaos Space. So that's 7 cards that are essentially useless this turn now. And not only that, they're really valuable extenders. So it absolutely can affect their play. And they're not going to get the free draw off the Chaos Space. Like the other two, it's not necessarily going to end their turn, but all 3 of these will make them end much easier to overcome. So, like, by all means, they're good cards versus them, but they're not like the blowouts, which, well, speaking of blowouts, what going second cards are really good versus Dragon Link? Well, first and foremost, I mean, we got Kaijus, because especially with the Buster Lock, okay, well, I'm just going to Kaiju that Savage, now it's gone. So I don't have to worry about the negate, I don't have to worry about the Buster Lock. 2 problems solved. If they're not playing the Buster Lock, but they say have Dragoon, Kaiju. You know, if they don't have Dragoon and they have Savage, Appaloosa, and like Seal, Kaiju. Like, Kaijus are never a bad thing if you open them, and if your deck can search them, that's even better. So, what other going second cards? Obviously, you guys can see on the screen. Dark Ruler, no more. You know, it shuts off their whole board. If they have the Buster Lock, that is one thing you're going to have to deal with. But, I mean, you know, deal with just the Buster Lock, or deal with the Buster Lock and 4 negates. So Dark Ruler no more, really, really strong versus them for pretty much the same reason. Droplet, you know, send a monster and a couple other cards, especially like if you summon your card effect, they chain to negate it. You can send the card on field as one of yours, especially if you're a deck that wants cards in the graveyard, and then you get the free negate that way, and you can just negate their board once again. Super Poly. This is one of the decks that Super Poly really shines versus. A lot of these videos you're going to see me mention Super Poly because I know a lot of my viewer base is Cyber Dragon, and Cyber Dragon can abuse Super Poly like crazy right now. It's ridiculous, and you'll see that in other videos to come. But Starving Venom, the Borlode Furious Dragon, Dragostapelia if they're playing Dragoon, like there's a lot of really good targets to hit these decks. Is it still a Predaplant or whatever, the like really long name, starts with the T, 3 dark monsters, that card. Really strong there. Sphere Mode and Lava Golem, more often than not they're gonna have 3 monsters. If your deck doesn't need the normal summon, go ahead and Sphere Mode, like why not? Otherwise Lava Golem's a solid answer too, especially if your deck plays Dragoon. Sure, I'm just gonna Lava Golem your 2 negates, your Buster Lock, and now I'm going to make a Dragoon and pop you for 3k. Pankratops, really strong. Nothing too surprising there. Like Pankratops. Okay, almost done. Running out of breath. Got a lot to do. Going first cards. What are some cards going first against Dragon Link that you can play? Well, I mean, if you go first and you set up your board and like you have your archetype, your game plan, your strategy, you know, like we already mentioned, you're going to want to stop like the Chaos Space. You're going to want to stop the LB. You're going to want to stop the Helcafibrex. Like these are the cards that you're going to go for and negate. But what are some cards that you can side in and do good with? Silent Graveyard. This card is so underrated. I haven't seen anybody talking about this card. Has been crazy. This card has been turn skipping like so many opponents. Like Dragon Link, okay, you got no graveyard effects. You're not going to get your draw off Noctovision. You can't get the draw off Chaos Space. You don't get your search off Collapse Serpent. You don't get the search off Wyva Burster. You don't get the search off a Black Metal Dragon. Like, there's a lot of graveyard reliant effects. Keeping in mind a lot of them aren't. Helcafibrex, Elpy, Pisty, you know, Tracer on field, Borlode Savage, Verde Anaconda. There's a lot that is on the field, so Silent Graveyard isn't going to shut down their turn, but it takes a significant portion of their play lines that they have. And if you have like another negate or 2, because you're going first, you're trying to set it up. Like if you have another 2 disruptions, you're probably winning that game. Inspector Border, you know, normal summon Inspector Border, you get no effects. I mean, they could link into Striker, not use the effect, and then use one more effect. Probably not going to be able to do a whole lot though through it, unless it's like field spell, summon, Tracer pop Striker, then make Savage. Won't be able to equip anything, but then just attack over the border and then try to combo off with what you have left. That would be one play line, or go into like a different Synchro 8 that can beat over the Inspector Border. Different Dimension Ground. They don't want their stuff banished, so if everything's getting banished, it kind of stops their turn. Summon, limit, you know, again, stops their turn. Floodgates in general. Goes and Match can actually hit them. Like, as soon as they summon Seal, Goes and Match. Now they're stuck into light monsters. 90% of the deck's dark. So, you know, actually, no, Seal would just use his effect in Tribute. Bad example. But hit them on, like, Helcafibrex, Water. Much better example. Especially if Seal's not on the field. So ignore that a little bit. There can be only one. If your deck can play there can be only one, you know, they want more than one dragon on board. Ice Dragon's Prison. When they're mid-combo, you summon one of their key dragons from the graveyard, and then you banish that one and one of their combo pieces on the field. It's going to hurt a lot. Torrential Tribute, you know, blowing up their board, kind of strong. Mid-combo, when they have no negates, blow up their board and they're lower on resources, it's going to hurt. Anti-Spell Fragrance, another Floodgate. It turns off Chaos Space, it turns off Quick Launch, unless obviously they have it in hand, but if they like draw into it, it turns off Quick Launch. The field spell they can't use, you know, the World Legacy Guard Dragon. If they're playing like other spells, they can't use them. So obviously anti-spell is going to be really strong if you can get your setup in place and before it. So anyway guys, this has been how to beat Dragon Link. just under 15 minutes. Not too bad. If you liked the video, make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Let us know how it was. Let us know other cards and other techs that you're using to beat them. Again, these are just a good general idea on what to hit, what to play, what to side, things like that. But you need to build your deck, you know, kind of fill in the blanks on what your deck does, where it's weak, where it needs help, and, you know, build your side deck accordingly too, because all decks are different. But thanks for watching, guys. Until next time.